Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Scratch, where you're going to create a more final version of the maze game we created in the last session. So, in the last session, we created a monkey maze wherein there was a maze backdrop, and we would help the user navigate his character, that is the monkey, through the maze and make him reach the banana. This was what the game was. In this episode, you're going to learn on how you can add bonus points in the maze, as well as add a timer and a score to measure how much of it the user has won along playing the game. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to first of all choose a backdrop for this game, which again is a maze backdrop that I have previously downloaded. So I'm going to hover my mouse over the choose a backdrop option and go to the top option of the pop-up, that is upload a backdrop, and go ahead and upload this maze backdrop on my screen. Apart from the maze backdrop, there is one more addition this time to the game, that is the game over screen, which means that the moment either the time is over or the user is done playing the game, the game over screen is going to come on your screen, thereby the entire maze or the characters and everything are going to vanish, and just the game over part is going to remain on your screen. For which you're going to again hover a mouse over the choose a backdrop and click on upload backdrop and upload this page that says game over. All right, so we're going to be coding on the maze backdrop that we have right now on our screen. So let's go back to coding. Apart from the maze backdrop, we need three more characters for this game. So let's go to choose a sprite, go to the library and search for our main character, that is a chick, first of all. And since the size is pretty big, let's go ahead and reduce it to 30. After having done so, place your chick um, at the beginning of the maze, which is somewhere here. Um, and then again, go ahead, click on choose a sprite and search for the bonuses that we are going to use for this particular game, which is a crystal. Looks pretty decent in size, so we're going to leave it at that size. Then again, choose a sprite and search for a home icon, which we can use as the final destination for our game. Place it somewhere here, but also reduce its size to, let's say, 50, half of what it is right now. Alright, we are all set with the game and good to go. Okay, positioning my tick for one last time. With this, we are going to now start coding for our game. Now that the entire setup is ready, we have positioned our characters or sprites where they're supposed to be, and now we're going to go ahead and start coding for our game. So this time, since we're going to add a score and a timer both, we are going to learn about how to code for them as well. First off, we are going to drag the first and the most important code block of any game, any program, which is an event code block. So on event, so do make sure that you select your character, your sprite chick from here, so that you are aware that we are coding right now for the chick. And a watermark of the chick is going to appear towards the right side of the coding screen. That will assure you that, okay, yes, you are coding for the chick. Now let's go ahead and get started with the coding. So let's click on control. I'm sorry, let's click on events and drag and drop when green flag is clicked. So since I told you that this time there are going to be two more additions to our game, which is a timer and score, and let's go through them as well. So a timer and score are both going to be variables in our game because they are going to change with each passing second and will not remain the same throughout the game. So we are going to create two new variables and name them timer and score, so that our computer can efficiently score the values throughout the game inside those variables that we've created. So go to the variables category and click on make a variable, choose the option for all sprites and then type score. With this, we will have the score variable generated, and initially the value of that variable is going to be 0. And you can see it on the output window as well over here. Another variable that we are going to generate is the timer. So let's say for this game, we're going to keep a timer of 30 seconds. Let's position our score and timer on the output screen somewhere here so that they don't cause a hindrance in the game. Okay, so with this, we have created two variables as well that we need for our game, which is the score and the timer. And in a few minutes from now, we're going to code for the score and timer as well. But for now, let's go ahead and code for the movements of a character, the up, down, left, right movements. Okay, so every time that the green flag is clicked, I would want my chick to start over from where it is standing right now. So I'm going to go to the motion category and drag and drop the go to code block. The go to code block right now is giving me the coordinates on which my chick is right now, which is x is minus 179 and y is 129. So this is exactly the place where I would want the player to start every time when he or she clicks on the green flag. Apart from that, let us also mention that we would want the score initially to be 0, for which we're going to go to the variables category and drag and drop set my variable to 0, and from this drop down select score. So I'm mentioning that okay, I do want my score to be initially 0, and then later as my player moves through the maze and collects a few points or bonuses along his way, that is when I want something to be added to the score, let's say 5 points or 3 points. That's entirely up to us. Okay, so now moving on to coding for the movements of the chick, like connecting the up, down, left, right arrow keys on your keyboard to the movement that the chick is going to represent on the output window. So for that, we're going to go to the control and drag and drop a forever code block, which means that at any point of the game, if you move these four arrow keys, they're going to execute the task that you're going to assign to them right now inside the forever code block. Okay, so for coding this, we are going to use nested if code blocks. So I am going to drag four if code blocks one below the other for me to be able to program for the four arrow keys and for the movement of the chick in all four directions, that is up down, which is positive x negative sorry positive y negative y, and right left, which is positive x and negative x respectively. So I have dragged and dropped four if code blocks one below the other, and I'm going to convert them into nested if code blocks, which means a condition inside a condition. So again, I'm going to drag and drop if code blocks, but this time inside the previously present if code blocks, so that they do form a nested if code block. So if you can see inside the forever code block, we now have four nested if code blocks, and we're going to use them one by one and program them for the movement of the chicken up, down, left, and right direction. So let's go to the sensing first, and let's drag and drop the key pressed button. So this is the primary condition for each nested if code block, that if this key is pressed, then this is what the player is supposed to do, or the character is supposed to do. So let's start with up arrow key, then down arrow key, then right arrow key, and then left arrow key. So if the up arrow key is pressed, I would want to move my chick or change its Y position by, let's say, 3. And if the down arrow key is pressed, I would want to change my character's Y position by -3. Same goes for right arrow key, but this time it is going to be a change in X direction. So if right arrow key is pressed, my X will change by 3. And if the left arrow key is pressed, my X is going to change by -3. All right, so this was the first condition of the if code blocks that we have put one below the other in our forever code block. The second part of the for this condition is going to be when the character is touching the black line of the maze. It is then that it's not supposed to move in any direction. And in order to nullify the effect of us pressing the up or the down or the left or the right key and making the character move, in order to nullify that effect, we are going to move the chick in just the opposite direction and just the opposite dimension. Let's see how we're going to do that. So let's go back to sensing and drag and drop the touching color as the second part of the condition. So drag and drop this particular code block for all four code blocks that are present, that is touching color black. Now there are two ways to pick a color that you would want to hinder or restrict the movement of the character to. One is you can click on this. It is going to zoom in on your output window, and then you can go ahead and finally select the color. And upon selecting it, you're going to know the color saturation and brightness of it. So for the next one, I can bring down all three of those, that is color saturation and brightness, to 0, and I'm going to get the same output as I did when I picked the color off of the output window. So having done that, now it's time to add a result to this condition. That is, what if it's touching color black? Okay, so let's have a look at the first condition. If the key up arrow is pressed, which means if you're pressing the up arrow key on a keyboard, then change y by 3, which means my chick is going to move upward by 3 pixels. Pixels is the unit over here. But if while doing that it is touching color black, then I would not want it to move from its position at all, for which I'm going to go to the motion category and drag and drop change y by, but this time change the dimensions to -3, hereby nullifying the 3 pixels that it's moved by moving back -3. Like it's going to cancel out and the tick is not going to move if it's touching the black line. Same goes for each arrow that we have coded for. Again, change, since in this case it's moving by -3, since it's the down arrow key, so we're going to move it up by 3, thereby nullifying the movement that it has made upon clicking the down arrow key. Then again, in the right arrow key this time, we are going to change x by -3, thereby giving us an effect of the tick not moving at all, and changing x again by 3 in the case of left arrow key. So with this, we are done programming for the movement of the chick. If we can anyways go ahead, maximize it and check whether this is working fine or not. Okay, yes, we can see the chick moving. All right, so now it's time for us to program for the timer, another important aspect of this game. All right, so for the timer, again we are going to drag and drop when green flag is clicked onto our screen on the same coding window that we are right now, that is for the chick. So as score has initially been set to 0, same ways we are going to initially set the timer as well to 0. Now there are two ways for in which you must have seen the timer start. One is the timer starting from 30 and then getting reduced eventually with each passing second, and it goes on like this: 30, 29, 28, likewise. Another way would be you start from 0 and then let the timer complete till 30. So in this case we are going to start from 0 and let the timer complete till 30, for which initially I am going to set my variable, in this case it's the timer, to 0 initially. And since I am planning on creating a timer for 30 seconds, I am going to drag and drop the repeat code block from the control tab, make it repeat 30 times, and every time it is going to wait for 1 second and then change timer by 1, for which I'm going to go to the variables category and change my variable by 1, which in this case is the timer. So yeah, now another condition that is supposed to be here is the moment the timer hits 30, like the variable timer turns 30, the game is supposed to stop, and another backdrop that we had uploaded onto our game, which is the game over backdrop, is supposed to come on top of the screen. So in order to put that condition, let's go back to control again and drag and drop the if code block inside the repeat 30. So in the if category, we are going to bring the assignment operator from the operators category, and this says something equal to something. So we are assigning a value right now, that is if my timer equals 30, then go to the looks, switch the backdrop to game over lesson 5, and height. And thereafter go to control and drag and drop stop all. So with this we are done creating the timer as well. Okay, now what is left is how is the score going to increase. So since the score is related to this crystal over here, or we could call it a gem, we're going to now start programming for the crystal. So it's up to you how many points you would like to allocate to each crystal. Let's suppose we take 5 points for that. Again, dragging and dropping the first and the most important code block for the crystal. This time you can see the watermark of the crystal over here. When green flag is clicked, then again, since it's supposed to go on throughout the entire game, that is why we dragged and dropped the forever code block here. Inside the forever code block, we're going to drag and drop a condition, and the condition is that if my chick is touching the crystal, which is drag and drop the first code block from the sensing, if touching chick, then go to variables and drag and drop change my variable by 1, uh, change my variable to score, and let's change the variable by 5. And then the gem or the crystal is supposed to hide the moment the chick touches it, for which we're going to go to, I'm sorry, the looks category and drag and drop hide on our screen. With this we are done programming for the score and the timer both. Now for the last thing, that is when the chick reaches the home, then what's supposed to happen. So let's go ahead and program for that. So clicking on the home button is going to bring you to the coding screen for the home. Let's go ahead and program that. So again, from events, drag and drop when green flag is clicked, then go to control, forever, inside forever, an if statement, then go to sensing, if my home is touching the chick or the character that I'm running, um, then what's going to happen is, yeah, so it is supposed to say yay, you won, after which, okay, so there are going to be two conditions when the game over backdrop comes on the screen. The first one, as I said, was when the timer equals 30, like 30 seconds is the time that you're supposed to cover this entire maze and reach the home button is. So either if the timer turns 30, it is then that the game over backdrop is going to come on the screen, or if before that my chick reaches the home, it is then that the game over backdrop is going to come on the screen. But after the message yay you won is displayed on the screen, so let's add a little wait time to that. Let's say the message will be displayed for 2 seconds, or it's going to wait for 2 seconds after the message, and then again it's going to switch the backdrop to game over less than 5. Yeah, so with this we are done programming for our game. Let's give it a run and check and see. Okay, yeah, one more thing. We have only added one gem or 1 point, wherein the chick could score some score or the points. You can anyways go ahead and duplicate. The moment you duplicate your sprite, the same code is going to be present on that sprite screen as well. So if you can see, I duplicated crystal, and I got a crystal 2 over here, but the code is there for that crystal as well. So you can go ahead and create as many bonuses in the path as you'd like, and you won't have to program again and again for each crystal. So let's go ahead and give it a final run. The moment I'm going to press the green flag, the timer is going to come back to 0, and if I try and place my chick anywhere else, it's going to come back to the starting point. So let's go ahead and, okay, yes, the timer turned 0. The timer is running effectively, and let's see if the bonuses are working as well. Okay, so timer is running fine. It's 17 seconds so far. Yes, the bonus did hide itself after the chick touching it, and I got a +5 on my score. And it's 26, so let's wait for the clock to strike 30, and then we're going to have the game over on our screen. Another important thing that we forgot while programming was that we're supposed to hide the gems as well. Anyways, so that's it for this session. Thank you for joining. Do try it out yourself, and yeah, that's it. Happy tinkering. Thank you.